The boy's split lip was still bleeding when he asked a question that would change everything. "Can I work here?" He stood shaking in the Iron Brotherhood clubhouse doorway. 13 years old in a hoodie 3 sizes too large, facing veterans who had survived Kandahar and Ramadi. What happened next would shake their town forever. He'd been standing in the rain for 10 minutes before he knocked, drenched and shaking, not from the cold but from something deeper. Inside, men who had seen war were about to meet the one person who would test their brotherhood more than any firefight ever had. The heavy oak door swung inward with a groan. Every conversation died. Dominoes clattered to a halt. Someone cut the classic rock station. Even Ranger, the club's battle-scarred German shepherd, lifted his head from near the wood stove. Standing in the threshold was a kid. His jeans were torn at both knees from genuine wear. Duct tape wrapped his sneaker soles. His hands were deep in his pockets, his face angled down, but not enough to hide the angry purple bruise spreading from his left eye down to his jaw. Fresh blood trickled from his split lip. Someone get lost on the way to soccer practice? A voice called from the back. A few chuckles rippled through the room. But the boy did not leave. He stepped forward, letting the door close behind him with a solid thump. The clubhouse smelled of motor oil, leather, and coffee brewed too long. "I need work," the boy said. His voice was quiet but steady. "After school, I can sweep, organize tools, clean parts, anything." The laughter came louder this time. A big man, they called Cage, slapped the table. "You hearing this? Kid wants to join the crew. At Bonds Unspoken, we believe every story between a human and their animal companion deserves to be heard. If you agree, please like, share, and subscribe, and don't forget to turn on notifications so you can join us every time another Bond speaks louder than words." But Marcus Stone was not laughing. The club president sat still in his corner chair. Stone's knuckles were a network of scars from 26 years as an Army Ranger. He read people like wiring diagrams. And what he saw in this kid's posture wasn't desperation. It was determination wrapped around shame, the kind that only came from surviving what should never touch a child. Stone rose from his chair. The room fell silent again. Ranger stood as well, moving to Stone's side. "What's your name?" Stone's voice had the gravel of 1,000 missions. "Tyler." "Tyler what?" The boy hesitated only a second. "Morgan." "You live nearby, Tyler Morgan?" "Maple Avenue, the gray house with the leaning fence." Stone knew that house. Foster placement, run by Vincent Cross. It had a reputation in town. "How old are you?" 13. Stone moved closer. Tyler's whole body tensed, but he did not step back, did not look away. That told Stone everything. This was a kid who had learned that showing fear only made things worse. "That's a serious injury on your face," Stone said, nodding at the bruise. "How did that happen?" "I fell." "From what?" "My skateboard." Stone crouched down slowly, bringing himself to eye level. "Where exactly?" Tyler's eyes shifted for just a fraction of a second. "Does it matter?" "Yes," Stone said quietly. "It matters." The silence stretched between them. The other bikers had stopped pretending not to listen. Stone made his decision in that moment. "Listen carefully," he said. "I need to check the garage. See what work we have. You wait here. Don't touch anything. Don't talk to anyone. Just sit." He pointed to a battered leather couch near the front window. Tyler walked over and sat down carefully, hands still in his pockets. Ranger followed, settling on the floor right in front of the boy. Stone did not go to the garage. He went straight to his phone and started making calls that would change everything. 2 hours passed. Tyler didn't move from the couch, didn't ask for the bathroom. Sarah, the club's cook, brought a thick sandwich and set it beside him without a word. He stared at the food for 15 minutes before eating every crumb slowly, deliberately. When Stone returned, the boy was exactly where he'd been left. Ranger's tail thumped once against the floor. Stone crouched at Tyler's eye level. "All right, Tyler, here's the situation. We have work. Sweeping, organizing, cleaning tools. $12 an hour. 3 days a week after school. You show up on time, work hard, don't steal, and never lie to us. Ever. Can you commit to that? Yes, sir. I can do that. Good. We start Tuesday at 4. Don't be late. Tyler stood quickly, nodded once, and turned toward the door. His hand closed around the handle. Tyler. The boy turned back, his face carefully neutral. That bruise didn't come from a skateboard. Stone made a statement, not a question. Tyler's expression went blank, the mask sliding back into place. Tuesday, Stone repeated firmly. 4 o'clock sharp. The door closed with a soft click. What the hell was that about? Cage asked, his massive frame tense. Stone walked to the window, watching the small figure disappear down the street. A kid throwing us a lifeline, he said quietly, and we're damn well going to pull until he's on solid ground. Wrench looked up from his magazine. Vincent Cross has a history that needs examining. We document everything from this point forward, Stone said. Tuesday arrived with crisp October air. Tyler stood outside the clubhouse at 3:45, 15 minutes early, staring at the heavy oak door. Stone opened it before he could knock again. Punctual. Good sign. Come inside. He led Tyler through the main room and into the garage. The space opened like a cathedral to machinery. 6 motorcycle bays stretched across the concrete floor. Tool walls were organized with military precision. The air was sharp with gasoline and oil. This is Diesel, Stone said, gesturing to a lean man bent over a Harley engine. Diesel straightened, wiping his hands on a dirty red rag. His forearms showed faded tattoos of unit insignias and coordinates. He'd spent 18 years as an Army combat engineer defusing explosives where one wrong move meant you ceased to exist. He studied Tyler with eyes that assessed threats in a heartbeat. Kid's going to help with cleanup, Stone explained. Diesel nodded. Brooms in that corner. Start sweeping. When you're done, I'll show you how we sort parts. Tyler got to work immediately. He swept like his future depended on it. He worked methodically, getting into corners that hadn't seen attention in months. Diesel pretended to focus on the Harley, but watched constantly. The kid didn't cut corners or complain. After 30 minutes, Ranger padded into garage and sat beside Tyler, watching him work. He likes you, Diesel said without looking up. That's Ranger. Former military dog. 3 tours. Better judge of character than most humans. Tyler slowly reached out, letting Ranger sniff his fingers before touching the dog's head. Ranger leaned into the contact. Something in Tyler's face softened slightly. After an hour, Diesel called him over. You know anything about engines? No, sir. Stop with the sir. Just Diesel. He pulled out a box filled with bolts, washers, and nuts all mixed together. Someone knocked these over. Sort them by size and type. Think you can handle that? Tyler nodded and sat cross-legged on the floor. Ranger settled beside him. Diesel returned to the Harley, but kept watching. What he saw surprised him. Tyler didn't just sort. He created neat rows arranged by size with systematic precision. Each bolt lined up perfectly. Each washer stacked with care. You have good hands, Diesel said, his voice softer. Natural mechanical aptitude. Tyler looked up, and for half a second his walls dropped completely. My father used to work on cars. Before everything changed. Before what happened? The walls slammed back. Before he left. Nothing else to tell. Diesel recognized the shutdown. If you want to learn, I can teach you engine basics. Might be useful. Tyler's eyes lit up. Really? You do that? Yeah, but only if you keep showing up and working hard like this. No shortcuts. I will. I promise. The garage door opened and Bull walked in, a massive presence in his early 60s. He'd heard about Tyler. Heard enough to make old wounds ache. Stone says you walk home down Maple Avenue. Bull said, without preamble. Tyler stood quickly, shoulders tensing. Yes, sir. I'm heading that direction. I'll walk with you when your shift ends. You don't have to do that. Didn't ask if I had to. Bull's tone was firm, but kind. We leave at 6. They walked in silence for 2 blocks. Ranger trotted alongside. You like working in the garage? Bull asked finally. Yeah, Diesel is teaching me about engines. Bull paused at the corner, watching the boy's body language. How's school? Fine. You have friends there? Tyler shrugged. They turned onto Maple Avenue. Tyler's pace slowed. The gray house sat 4 doors down, its chain-link fence rusted and leaning. Bull stopped 1 house away. Tyler, if things ever get bad, I mean truly bad, you call this number. He pulled out a card with the clubhouse number. Day or night, someone answers. Understand. Tyler took the card, staring at it. Why are you doing this? Why do any of you care? Bull's throat tightened. Because you asked for work instead of a handout, he said carefully. That takes real courage. People with that kind of courage deserve to have others watching their back. Tyler nodded slowly, tucking the card deep into his pocket. Thank you. See you Thursday, kid. Bull waited until Tyler disappeared inside the gray house before walking away, his hands curling into fists at his sides. 3 weeks passed. Tyler arrived early for every shift, stayed late, absorbed everything Diesel taught him. Thursday evening, he was elbow-deep in sorting carburetor parts when the clubhouse door exploded inward. Heavy footsteps thundered through the main room. Where is he? Where's the boy? Vincent Cross stood in the doorway between the clubhouse and garage, filling the frame. 6'3", 240 pounds of bulk. Broken capillaries mapped his nose and cheeks. Rage simmered in bloodshot eyes. Diesel stepped in front of Tyler, a socket wrench still in his hand. Can I help you? You can mind your own damn business. Vincent jabbed a thick finger toward Tyler. That's my foster boy. He's coming home. We have things to discuss about responsibilities he's been neglecting. Tyler couldn't move. His breathing went shallow and rapid. Ranger moved immediately to his side, pressing against his legs and rumbling deep in his chest. Stone emerged from the office, moving with deliberate calm. Mr. Cross, Tyler's shift ends at 6. It's 5:30. He'll be home when his scheduled time is complete. I don't give a damn about his shift. Vincent's voice rose, spittle flying. He has chores. I didn't give him permission to work here, filling his head with ideas. Actually, Stone said, his voice cold as winter steel. His caseworker signed off on the work program. I have the documentation, if you'd like to see it. The lie landed with perfect confidence. Vincent hesitated. This is garbage, he spat. You think you can take in strays. Turn him against me. What kind of responsibilities? Stone took a measured step forward. Specifically, what tasks require a 13-year-old boy's attention so urgently? Vincent's face flushed darker. That's between me and the kid. Family business. Is it? Stone took another step. Behind him, cage and wrench had materialized. Bull emerged from the kitchen. Sarah stood in the doorway, arms crossed. Because Tyler shows up with fresh bruises every few days. His caseworker hasn't done a home visit in 4 months. The boy flinches every time someone raises their voice. So I'm extremely curious about these responsibilities you keep mentioning. Vincent's hands curled into fists. But even through alcohol-clouded judgment, he counted the opposition. 5 veterans who had survived actual combat. An angry drunk presented no challenge they couldn't handle. You don't know what you're talking about, Vincent said, but the fire was guttering out. Kids are clumsy. They fall. And maybe if he wasn't such a constant disappointment, I wouldn't have to discipline him the way his real parents should have before they abandoned him. He caught himself mid-sentence, jaw snapping shut. Stone's voice could have cut through armor plating. Wouldn't have to what, Mr. Cross? Finish that sentence. Vincent pointed a shaking finger at Tyler. You. Home. 1 hour. Don't make me come back. He turned and stormed out. The door slammed with enough force to make the frame shudder. Silence stretched for several long moments. I should go home, Tyler whispered, his hands trembling. If I'm not there when he expects me, he'll call my caseworker. Say I ran away. Then I get sent to a group home. His voice went flat. I've been in 4. They're worse. How do you know that? Diesel asked gently. Because this placement is number 5, Tyler said, reciting facts. After this, they stop trying to find families. You just cycle through shelters until you age out. Bull stepped forward. placing a large hand carefully on Tyler's shoulder. I'm walking you home. Right now. And I'm not leaving until you're inside. They walked through gathering darkness, Bull on one side and Ranger on the other. When they reached the gray house, Vincent was visible through the front window, pacing and drinking. You don't have to go inside, Bull said quietly. I do, Tyler replied. You heard what I said. If I run, it gets worse. This is the devil I know. He walked to the door. Bull had to physically restrain himself from grabbing him. The instant Tyler disappeared inside, Bull called Stone. We're out of time. That man is going to seriously hurt him. Soon. I know. Stone's voice carried away command. Meet me at Sarah's diner. We need to move faster than the system will allow. Sarah's diner held a permanent aroma of bacon grease and strong coffee. Stone, Bull, and Sarah huddled in a corner booth as Rita Ochoa spread documents across the table. Vincent Cross has been exploiting children across 3 counties for 14 years, she said. Every placement follows the same pattern. He takes infants or young kids with minimal family connections, keeps them 2 to 3 years while collecting payments. Then he relocates and starts over. Stone studied the financial records. These deposits go beyond standard foster care payments. Where's that money coming from? We believe it connects to a larger network, Rita said, her voice grim. Illegal adoptions, possibly trafficking. The temperature in the room seemed to drop. What about Tyler's mother? Sarah asked quietly. Rebecca Morgan worked here, Sarah said, placing a photograph on the table. The young woman had Tyler's eyes. Her hand rested protectively on her visibly pregnant belly. On the back, looping cursive read, Rebecca, 6 months along. She's going to be such a good mother. She worked here from 19 to 22, Sarah continued. Good employee. Devoted to her son. Then when Tyler was 4 months old, she stopped showing up. I filed a missing person report. It was closed in 72 hours. They said she'd probably moved away. Stone picked up the sparse police report, his expression hardening with disgust. No one questioned why a devoted mother would abandon her infant without collecting her final paycheck. No one found it suspicious that Vincent found a baby 6 weeks after Rebecca disappeared. He took Tyler from her, Bull said, the words hanging in the air. Rita nodded slowly. And she couldn't come looking because she's not around to look anymore. The next afternoon, Rita interviewed Tyler in the garage with Bull and Diesel present. Ranger remained at the boy's side throughout. She asked careful questions, documenting bruises with Tyler's permission. She photographed the finger-shaped marks on his forearm. She asked about food, sleep, threats. Tyler answered with flat detachment, reciting facts about weather rather than his own life. But he told the truth, every painful detail. When it was over, Rita closed her notebook. Thank you for being honest, Tyler. I know that was difficult. What's been happening to you is not normal. It's not acceptable, and it's not your fault. When will something change? Tyler whispered. When do I get moved somewhere else? The emergency hearing is Monday, Rita said. Within days, your living situation will change. After she left, Tyler sat on the garage floor with Ranger sprawled across his lap. The dog's weight was grounding. What happens if they move me and the new place is worse? Tyler asked, his voice barely audible. What if I end up somewhere with more kids and people who care even less? Bull lowered himself to sit beside him. That's not going to happen this time. We're not going to let you disappear into some facility where nobody knows your name. How can you promise that? Tyler's eyes were bright, with unshed tears. You don't control the system. You're right, Bull said. We don't control the system, but we control what we're willing to fight for. And you matter, Tyler. You walked in here asking for work, and what you found was family. Real family doesn't let go just because paperwork says they should. Stone stepped forward, completing the protective circle. We've been making arrangements. You need to trust that we're working toward an outcome that keeps you safe and keeps you with people who actually want you in their lives. Tyler looked between the 3 men and the loyal dog at his feet. I don't understand why you care so much. I'm nobody special. Just another foster kid with problems. Diesel set down his tools and joined them. You asked for work instead of handouts. You showed up early and stayed late. You learned everything we taught you. You survived things that would have broken most adults. That makes you exactly the kind of person worth fighting for. Outside, the afternoon sun began its descent. Inside, a boy who had spent 13 years learning not to hope was slowly beginning to believe that perhaps this time might be different. Rita's investigation uncovered the full pattern. Infants with minimal family connections, placements lasting only a few years, then relocation to a new county. Financial trails led to shell companies and fake support organizations. Vincent's been running this like an operation, Stone said, the pieces clicking into place with tactical clarity. He identifies vulnerable mothers, takes their children, and creates abandonment stories to legitimize the custody. Tyler wasn't abandoned. He was stolen. Rita nodded. The missing person report on Rebecca Morgan was a single page. No interviews with neighbors. No check with the hospital. Case closed in 72 hours. Another young single mother who probably walked away. Institutional indifference at its worst. Stone's hands curled into fists on the scarred wooden desk. She fought to keep her son, and the system wrote her off as collateral damage. Now we know the truth. We have to make sure Tyler knows it, too. That brings me to the next question, Rita said, her gaze steady. Have you considered becoming his permanent placement yourselves? The question hung in the air, giving voice to the possibility they had all been circling. Bull has, Stone said without hesitation. He wants to pursue guardianship, eventually adoption, if Tyler agrees. Rita processed this, her professional demeanor softening slightly. The emergency hearing is Monday morning. Judge Patricia Winters is presiding. She prioritizes child safety over procedure. But for Bull to be considered for emergency placement, we need to move fast. Home inspection, background checks, documentation. We'll make it happen, Stone said. What does Tyler need to do? He needs to testify, Rita said. To tell the judge what happened in that house. It will be difficult, but it's the only way to secure immediate removal. She looked from Stone to Bull, her expression grave. And Bull needs to be ready for what this means, not as a temporary fix, but permanently. Raising a traumatized teenager is a lifetime commitment. There will be therapy, setbacks, challenges. Is he prepared for that reality? He lost his daughter to the same system that's failing Tyler, Stone said, his voice absolute. He understands the cost of failure better than anyone. This isn't just about saving a kid. It's about redemption. Then we prepare, Rita said, gathering her documents. We have 72 hours to build an unshakable case. Monday morning, we change Tyler's life forever. Rita's investigation left no room for doubt. Vincent Cross had been running a calculated operation for over a decade. Vulnerable mothers, stolen infants, fake paperwork, and constant movement to stay ahead of scrutiny. He didn't just take Tyler, Stone said, the truth settling like a cold stone in his gut. Rebecca Morgan loved her son. She was building a life for him. Vincent saw an opportunity and took it. Then he made her disappear. Rita placed the final piece of evidence on the clubhouse table. A photocopy of Rebecca's last paycheck, never cashed. A note from the diner owner was scrawled in the margin. Tried to mail this. Letter returned. Landlord says she left suddenly. Very unlike her. I hope she's okay somewhere. She wasn't okay, Bull said quietly, looking at the photograph of the smiling young woman with Tyler's eyes. She loved him, and someone took him. Then they took her, too. Stone pushed the documents away, his jaw set. We take all of this to the hearing. The abuse, the fraud, the kidnapping. We get Tyler out, and we make sure Vincent never sees another child again. Rita met his gaze, which brings us to the final question, the one that matters most for Tyler's future. She paused, letting the weight of it fill the room. Have you considered becoming his permanent placement? Not just emergency custody, but forever? Stone didn't hesitate. Bull has. He's already preparing his home. He wants to be Tyler's guardian, his father, if the boy will have him. Rita nodded slowly, a mix of professional respect and personal relief crossing her features. The emergency hearing is Monday. If everything goes as planned, Tyler will need a home that same day. Bull will need to be ready, not just with a bed, but with his whole heart. This is permanent. He's ready, Stone said, his voice leaving no room for doubt. We all are. Saturday morning moved with military precision. At Bull's house, a county inspector noted the fresh paint in the spare bedroom, the new mattress, the desk waiting under the window. You started preparing this room before the hearing was scheduled, she observed. Bull stood in the doorway. When you recognize someone needs saving, you don't wait for a system to decide if they're worth the effort. That afternoon, the veterans gathered with Tyler at the clubhouse. Rangers sat at the boys' feet. Monday, you'll sit before a judge, Stone explained, crouching to Tyler's level. She'll ask you questions. Tell the truth clearly, your actual reality, not a version edited to make adults comfortable. Am I in trouble? No, Bull said, his voice leaving no doubt. You're being protected. Vincent is the one facing consequences. They practiced. Stone role-played the judge. Do you feel safe in Vincent's home? No. Has he ever hurt you? Yes. Where do you want to live? Tyler looked at Bull. With him. With each answer, his voice grew steadier. The fear was still there, but underneath it now was resolve. Later, Tyler asked a question that had been haunting the silence between them. Why would you want me permanently? You barely know me. Bull leaned forward. My daughter died because nobody fought for her when she was in the system, he said, the words carved from old pain. You walked in here asking for work instead of a handout. That takes real courage. You deserve a family that actually wants you. I want to be that family, Tyler. If you'll let me. Tyler's eyes filled, but he didn't look away. I want that, too. That evening, Bull drove Tyler back to Gray House for the last time. Cage and wrench followed, a silent guard in the dusk. One more night, Bull said, stopping a house away. Tomorrow you come home with me. For good. Can you get through tonight? Tyler looked at the leaning fence, the harsh light in the window. Then he straightened, his shoulders squaring. I've survived 13 years, he said. I can survive one more night. He walked to the door not with a hunch, but with his head up. Bull watched until he disappeared inside, then pulled out his phone. He's ready, he texted Stone. Tomorrow we bring him home. The house was unusually quiet. Tyler sat on the edge of his narrow bed, the business card with the clubhouse number clutched in his hand. Downstairs, the front door crashed open. Heavy, angry footsteps climbed the stairs. Vincent appeared in the doorway, blocking it. His face was flushed dark, his eyes unfocused and swimming with rage. You think you're clever? He snarled, words slurring together. Going to those biker trash, making up lies about me? Tyler said nothing. He kept his breathing steady, his body still. Vincent stepped into the room, the whiskey on his breath filling the small space. Tomorrow, that judge will hear the truth. You're an ungrateful piece of garbage. I took you in when nobody wanted you. They're not lies, Tyler said quietly, the words out before he stopped him. Vincent's hand shot out, grabbing Tyler's arm with crushing force. Pain shot through the muscle. You don't talk back to me. You're nothing. Your mother was nothing. A stupid waitress who thought she could keep you. Tyler froze. What did you say about my mother? Vincent's face twisted with cruel satisfaction. You really don't know, do you? She never abandoned you at some rest stop. I took you from her. And she couldn't come looking because she's not around anymore to look. The world tilted. Where is she? What did you do? Vincent shoved him backward. That's information you don't need. What you need to understand is that tomorrow you better remember who has power. I know people who could make you disappear just like her if you become too much trouble. The threat hung in the air, ugly and final. But something had changed in Tyler. The fear was still there, but it no longer paralyzed him. I'm not going to lie for you tomorrow, Tyler said, his voice steadier than he felt. I'm going to tell the judge exactly what you did. Vincent's hand rose as if to strike, but he stopped himself. A visible injury now would ruin his case. He pointed a shaking finger instead. Biggest mistake of your worthless life, boy. You'll regret this." He turned and stormed out. The front door slammed. Tires squealed as he sped away. Tyler's hands trembled as he pulled out his phone. He dialed the number on the card. Bull answered on the second ring. "Tyler? What's wrong?" "He came home drunk," Tyler said, his voice shaking but controlled. "He said things. He said he took me from my mother, and he threatened me about tomorrow." "Where is he now?" "He left. Just drove off." "Listen carefully," Bull said, his voice going hard. "Lock your door. Pack what you need. Cage and Wrench are outside watching. If he comes back, you call 911 first, then call me. Understand?" "Yes." "You did the right thing calling. Tomorrow everything changes. You survive tonight. Tomorrow you come home. Can you do that?" "Yes." Tyler said, the word firm. "I can survive one more night." He ended the call, pushed his dresser against the door, and lay down on the bed fully clothed, phone in hand. Outside, he could hear the soft idle of Cage's motorcycle, a promise in the dark. The night passed slowly. Each hour was marked by the clock on his phone and the silence of the house. Vincent did not return. Exhaustion eventually pulled Tyler into a fitful sleep. Filled with fragment of mother's face he couldn't remember and the looming shape of a courtroom. Dawn, when it finally came, brought the day that would change everything. Monday morning was cold and clear. Tyler stood outside the gray house as Cage's motorcycle rumbled into the driveway. "Time to go, kid," Cage said, his massive frame blocking the early sun. "Grab anything else you need. You're not coming back." Tyler took one last look at the house that held only pain. He felt nothing but cold certainty. He would never sleep under this roof again. The ride to the courthouse was a blur of movement and noise. They arrived to find Stone, Bull, Diesel, Wrench, and Sarah already waiting in the parking lot. Ranger sat calmly beside Bull. Rita Ochoa emerged from her car, briefcase in hand, her expression all business. Inside, the courthouse marble amplified every sound. Rita led them to a private conference room away from where Vincent and his lawyer would be. Stone crouched to Tyler's eye level. "You remember what we practiced. Tell the truth clearly, your actual reality, not a version edited to make anyone comfortable." "I can do it," Tyler said, his voice steady despite the churning in his stomach. Bull handed him a bottle of water. "If you start feeling overwhelmed in there, look at us. We're right behind you." At 8:30, a bailiff summoned them. They filed into the courtroom in formation. Judge Patricia Winters sat on a raised bench, reviewing documents with sharp attention. She had steel gray hair and eyes that missed nothing. Vincent Cross sat at the defendant's table with his lawyer, a thin man in an expensive suit. Vincent had cleaned up dress pants, button-down shirt, but Tyler could see the tension in his hands, the rage simmering beneath the surface. The bailiff called the court to order. "This is an emergency hearing regarding the welfare of Tyler Morgan," Judge Winters said, her voice filling the space. "Ms. Ochoa, present your case." Rita stood and approached the bench. "Your Honor, the evidence demonstrated a pattern of abuse, neglect, and exploitation requiring Tyler's immediate removal. We also have evidence suggesting Mr. Cross was involved in criminal activities related to Tyler's original placement 13 years ago." She presented photographs of Tyler's injuries, Sarah's medical notes, financial records showing suspicious payments, and finally, the employment records and photograph of Rebecca Morgan. "This woman did not abandon her son," Rita said, placing the photo before the judge. "She disappeared when Tyler was 4 months old. 6 weeks later, Mr. Cross reported finding an abandoned infant. Medical records show Tyler was receiving proper care up until his mother vanished." Judge Winters studied the documents, her expression growing grave. She looked at Vincent's attorney. "You'll have opportunity to respond. But first, I want to hear from Tyler Morgan. Young man, please approach the stand." Tyler walked forward on legs that felt unsteady. He was sworn in and took the wooden chair. "Tyler," Judge Winters said, her voice softer now, "I need you to answer some questions honestly. This is about keeping you safe. No one will punish you for telling the truth. Do you understand?" "Yes, Your Honor." How long have you lived with Vincent Cross? 3 years. How would you describe your relationship with him? Tyler took a breath. He felt Bull's steady presence in the back row. He hits me when he's angry or drunk. There's not enough food. He tells me I'm worthless. That my mother abandoned me because I wasn't worth keeping. The courtroom was silent. Has he threatened you? Yes. Last night, he said he could make me disappear like my mother. Judge Winters' face went completely still. Did he explain what he meant by that? Tyler's throat tightened. He said she never abandoned me at a rest stop. He said he took me from her. And she couldn't come looking because she's not around anymore. The silence that followed was heavy, thick with the weight of the confession. If I were to remove you from Mr. Cross's custody today, Judge Winters asked gently, where would you want to live? Tyler looked directly at Bull. With him, Joseph Mancini. He has a room ready for me. He wants to be my guardian. And I want that too. The Iron Brotherhood. They're the only people who have ever treated me like I matter. Thank you, Tyler. You've shown remarkable courage today. Tyler returned to sit beside Rita, his entire body trembling now that it was over. Bull caught his eye from the back row and nodded once, a gesture of pride that meant more than any words. Judge Winters turned her attention to Vincent Cross and his attorney, her expression controlled but displeased. Mr. Cross, you have heard the allegations. Your attorney may now respond. Vincent's lawyer stood, straightening his suit. Your Honor, these allegations are exaggerations. My client has provided foster care for 3 years with regular county evaluations. The injuries are normal childhood accidents. Boys at age acquire bruises through sports and play. Judge Winters leaned back, her fingers steepled. Counselor, I have reviewed the photographs. These injuries show clear patterns inconsistent with accidental trauma. Multiple witnesses, including a former Army nurse, have documented them over time. Are you suggesting they are all lying or mistaken? The attorney shifted. I'm suggesting well-meaning but untrained individuals may have misinterpreted normal injuries through bias. The bikers befriended Tyler and may have encouraged him to fabricate claims. So your defense, Judge Winters said, her voice sharpening, is that a 13-year-old boy fabricated detailed allegations, multiple adult witnesses conspired, and a social worker with military police background risked her career for fraudulent petitions? That is your position. The attorney hesitated. I'm simply suggesting alternative explanations exist. What about Mr. Cross's statement to Tyler last night regarding taking him from his biological mother? Judge Winters' gaze cut to Vincent. How do you explain that confession, given under oath? Vincent could no longer contain himself. He stood abruptly, his chair scraping loudly. That kid's a liar. Always has been. His mother was a worthless waitress. I did him a favor. Mr. Cross, sit down immediately. Judge Winters' voice carried absolute authority. You will not speak unless directed, and I strongly suggest you consult your attorney before making any further statements that could be used against you in criminal proceedings. Vincent's lawyer pulled him back into his seat, whispering urgently, but the damage was done. Judge Winters made a note before looking up. Based on the overwhelming evidence presented today, I am immediately terminating your foster care license and removing Tyler Morgan from your custody. You are prohibited from any contact with Tyler. Violation will result in arrest. Vincent's attorney tried to interject. We request time to appeal. Request denied. The evidence is clear and convincing. I will not risk this child's safety for one additional day while lawyers argue procedure. She turned to Rita. Ms. Ochoa, has the home inspection for Joseph Mancini been completed? Yes, Your Honor. Rita presented the report. Mr. Mancini's home meets all safety requirements. He has stable income, an honorable military record, and has demonstrated genuine commitment to Tyler's long-term welfare. Mr. Mancini, please approach the bench. Bull stood and walked forward, his presence both strong and gentle. Why do you want custody of Tyler Morgan? Bull took a breath. Your Honor, I lost my daughter 8 years ago because the foster system failed her. I have lived with that failure every day since. Tyler walked into our garage asking for work instead of handouts. That takes courage. He deserves stability, family, people who will fight for him. I am prepared to provide that for as long as he needs it. Judge Winters studied him. Raising a traumatized teenager is not simple. He will require therapy, patience, consistent support. This is a long-term commitment. Are you prepared for that reality? Yes, Your Honor. Absolutely. Judge Winters made her final notes, then looked up. I am granting temporary emergency custody of Tyler Morgan to Joseph Mancini, pending completion of the full guardianship process. Mr. Mancini, you will work with Ms. Ochoa, ensure Tyler attends therapy, and comply with all monitoring. If this arrangement proves successful over 6 months, we will schedule a hearing to finalize permanent guardianship. She turned to Tyler, her expression softening. Tyler, you are going home with Mr. Mancini today. You will not return to Mr. Cross's house. You have a safe place now with people who genuinely care about you. Tyler nodded, tears streaming down his face, not from pain, but from relief. Judge Winters brought her gavel down with a solid thump. This hearing is concluded. Mr. Cross, you are to leave this courthouse immediately without approaching Tyler or his support network. Vincent was escorted out by 2 bailiffs, his protest fading as the doors closed behind him. Bull moved quickly to Tyler and pulled him into a fierce embrace. You're coming home, kid. Really home. The other veterans surrounded them, a protective circle of leather and loyalty. Ranger pushed through to Tyler, tail wagging. Tyler dropped to his knees and buried his face in the dog's fur, his shoulders shaking with sobs that released 13 years of pain. Outside, Vincent drove away toward an uncertain future. Inside, Tyler walked out surrounded by his new family, heading toward a future that finally held possibility. The convoy leaving the courthouse moved like a military escort. Bull's truck led the way with Tyler in the passenger seat and Ranger behind them, his head resting on Tyler's shoulder. Stone, Diesel, Cage, and Wrench followed. Sarah drove ahead to prepare lunch. Tyler sat quietly, watching the familiar streets look different through the lens of freedom. Everything seemed brighter, clearer. Bull glanced over. You doing okay over there? Today was a lot. Tyler nodded slowly. I keep thinking I'll wake up and still be in that house. Not a dream, kid. This is real and permanent. They turned onto Bull Street, a quiet area with mature trees and well-kept houses. Bull's home was a 2-story with a wraparound porch and a detached garage workshop. The yard was cared for but not perfect, comfortable, and stable. The vehicles pulled into the driveway. Tyler stepped out with Ranger immediately at his side. Welcome home, Tyler. Stone handed him a small wrap package. From all of us. Tyler opened it. Inside was a leather keychain with the Iron Brotherhood insignia and his name engraved. A single brass key hung from it. Your key to your home, Stone said. You come and go as you need. No one controls your movement anymore. Tyler clutched it tightly, his thumb running over the engraved letters. Bull gestured toward the house. Come on, let me show you your room. No rush, just get comfortable. They entered a living room that felt welcoming immediately. Comfortable furniture, bookshelves, photographs of Bull's service and his daughter. Upstairs, Bull led him to the spare bedroom. The walls were painted a warm gray-blue Tyler had mentioned liking weeks ago. A sturdy bed with new bedding, a desk under the window, empty bookshelves waiting, and on a pegboard above the desk, a set of basic tools with Tyler's name labeled on the board. This is yours, Bull said simply. You can change anything you want. This is your space. Tyler walked slowly around the room, touching surfaces. When did you do all this? I started the first week you came to the garage, Bull said, leaning in the doorway. When you recognize someone needs saving, you don't wait for bureaucracy. Downstairs, the front door opened. Voices and laughter filled the house as the other veterans arrived for the celebration Sarah had organized. They gathered around the dining table loaded with food. Stone raised his mug. To Tyler Morgan, who walked into our garage asking for work and found himself a family. You showed courage we all respect. Welcome to the Brotherhood. You earned your place here. To Tyler, the others echoed. The meal was easy and warm. Sarah asked about his favorite foods. Diesel promised more engine lessons. Cage offered to teach him to ride. Wrench mentioned computer classes at the community college. For the first time in 13 years, Tyler was surrounded by adults making plans that included him. They were discussing his future as though he actually had one. After lunch, Bull showed him the rest of the house: the bathroom with fresh towels, the kitchen where he could help himself to food, the backyard, the workshop. "This is a lot to process," Bull acknowledged as they stood among tools and half-finished projects. "You've gone from surviving to having stability. That can feel overwhelming, even when it's good. What if I mess this up?" Tyler's voice was small. "What if you decide I'm too much trouble?" Bull turned to face him, hands resting gently on his shoulders. "Listen carefully. You are not on trial here. You are not earning your place through perfect behavior. You are home because we want you here, period. You'll make mistakes. You'll have bad days. None of that changes our commitment. Family means showing up to the hard parts." Tyler nodded, his eyes bright. "Thank you for not giving up on me. Thank you for being brave enough to walk through that door and ask for work." Bull pulled him into a brief hug. "Now come on. I think Sarah made enough cookies to feed platoon." They returned to the house where the celebration continued into the afternoon. As evening approached and the others began to leave, Stone pulled Tyler aside. "The investigation into your mother's disappearance is ongoing," he said quietly. "They may never find enough evidence to know exactly what happened, but we will make sure you know the truth. She did not abandon you. She loved you and someone took you from her. Will I ever know what she was really like?" Tyler asked. "Beyond photographs?" Stone pulled out his phone. "Sarah tracked down Patricia Chun, who owned the diner where your mother worked. Patricia recorded a video message for you. You can watch it whenever you feel ready. No pressure." Tyler looked at the screen showing a pause video of an elderly woman with kind eyes. "Can I watch it now?" "Of course." Stone handed him the phone and stepped back to give him privacy, remaining close enough to offer support if needed. The first week in Bull's house passed in a haze of adjustment. Every morning Tyler woke expecting the gray walls of the old house, and every morning the warm blue of his new room greeted him instead. Bull made breakfast each day: eggs, toast, fruit, and gently encouraged Tyler to eat until he was full. Tyler hesitated at first, years of scarcity making him ration instinctively. But slowly, he began to trust that food would be there tomorrow and the next day. Ranger followed him from room to room, a constant, grounding presence. At night, the dog slept on a cushion beside the bed, his steady breathing a comfort in the dark. The nightmares still came. Tyler woke disoriented and panicked one night, his body reacting to dream threats as if they were real. Bull was in the doorway within seconds. "You're safe, Tyler. You're in your room, in my house." Bull's voice was calm and firm. "Breathe. Focus on what you can see right now." Tyler's breathing slowed. The dream had been vivid, Vincent dragging him back, everyone watching and doing nothing. "I'm sorry I woke you up," Tyler whispered, embarrassed. "Nightmares are childish." "Nightmares aren't childish." Bull sat on the edge of the bed. "They're your brain processing what it lived through. Combat veterans deal with them for decades. You're wounded, and wounds heal with time and care. What if I'm broken in ways that don't fix?" "You're not broken." Bull's voice held absolute conviction. "We face this together. You don't heal alone." Wednesday brought Tyler's first therapy appointment. Dr. Torres's office felt more like a living room than a clinic. She was warm but professional, her eyes kind. "This is your time," she told him. "We go at your pace. Some days we might talk about hard memories. Others we might focus on the present or future. There's no wrong way to do this." Tyler talked more than he expected to. About Bull's house, about the garage, about the quiet fear that the safety might vanish. Dr. Torres listened without judgment. After the session, Tyler felt emotionally drained in a way physical work never achieved. Bull seemed to sense it and didn't push conversation on the drive home. Ranger greeted them with enthusiastic tail wags, a welcome distraction. At school, things felt different. Tyler carried himself with a little more steadiness. During lunch, Maya Chun from his English class approached his usual corner table. Mind if I sit here? Other tables are crowded. Tyler gestured to the empty chair. Maya made easy conversation about homework and teachers, not pushing for more than he offered. When lunch ended, she smiled. Same time tomorrow? I like having lunch with someone who doesn't fill every silence with noise. Tyler found himself nodding. Yeah, that would be okay. It was a small moment, but it mattered. The possibility of normal friendship, of connection based on something other than survival. Friday afternoon, Tyler returned to garage. Diesel put him to work on an engine rebuild. You seem different, Diesel observed after they'd worked in comfortable silence for a while. More settled. Less like you're bracing for the next disaster. I feel like I can breathe now, Tyler said, tightening a bolt with care. Like I don't have to spend all my energy just surviving. That's what safety does. Diesel handed him the next tool without being asked. Frees up space in your head for other things. You earned this piece, kid. Later, Stone pulled him aside. The criminal investigation was moving. Vincent pled guilty to multiple charges: child abuse, fraud, kidnapping, manslaughter for Rebecca Morgan's death. 35 years to life. It doesn't bring her back, Tyler said quietly, processing the news. Knowing he's in prison doesn't give me the mother I never knew. No, it doesn't, Bull said from where he stood nearby. Justice doesn't undo harm, but it says what happened to you and her wrong. That matters, even when it doesn't feel like enough. Will I always be angry about what he took? You might always carry some anger, Bull said, honest and gentle. That's okay, but over time, it can become smaller relative to everything else in your life. He already stole too much. Don't let him steal your future, too, by making you live in that anger. Tyler nodded, leaning into Ranger's solid presence beside him. The wound was still there, but for the first time, it felt like it might someday become a scar, part of the story, but not the whole story. Christmas arrived, and with it, Tyler's first real holiday. Bull asked what traditions he wanted to start, prioritizing new memories over forced ones. They decorated a real tree together, Bull lifting Tyler to place the star on top. Sarah hosted dinner at the clubhouse, a loud, warm gathering of chosen family. Tyler received gifts that mattered: an advanced mechanics manual from Diesel, a leather journal from Stone, a heavy winter jacket in Iron Brotherhood colors from Cage. But the most important gift came from Bull. A wooden box he'd crafted from cherry wood, dovetail joints perfect. Inside were photographs and documents of Rebecca Morgan, carefully organized. A letter explained, Tyler, your mother's story deserves to be remembered. This is your history. You came from love, even though that love was stolen. Never forget that. Tyler ran his fingers over the smooth wood. Thank you for making her real. She was real, Bull said, and she mattered, just like you do. January brought the 6-month review hearing. The courtroom felt different this time, less like a battlefield, more like a formality. Dr. Torres testified about Tyler's progress. School officials reported improved grades and healthy friendships. Rita presented evidence that Bull had exceeded every requirement. When Judge Winters asked Tyler if he felt safe and where he wanted to live, his answer was immediate. With Bull, he's my family. Judge Winters signed the order making Bull's guardianship permanent. This placement serves your best interests, she told Tyler. You have the stability you deserve. Vincent Cross was sentenced the following month. 35 years to life. Tyler learned the news quietly. It didn't fill the hole, but it drew a line under that chapter. The man who had stolen his first 13 years would never harm another child. Spring arrived, and with it, the adoption hearing. Tyler stood before Judge Winters once more, not as a child being rescued, but as a young man choosing his future. Do you consent to this adoption? Judge Winters asked. Do you understand it is permanent? Tyler didn't hesitate. Bull saved my life when he didn't have to. He gave me a home when I'd stopped hoping for one. He taught me that family is about choice, not biology. I want to be his son. Officially, permanently, I want to be Tyler Mancini. Judge Winters signed the decree with a smile. By the power vested in me, I finalized this adoption. Congratulations to you both. Outside the courthouse, Tyler stood surrounded by his father and his brotherhood. He wore the leather jacket with his name on it. He carried a new last name, and for the first time, he knew exactly where he belonged. 2 years after Tyler first walked through the doors of the Iron Brotherhood clubhouse, the garage had become something more. Word had spread, a place where troubled kids could learn skills, earn respect, and find adults who listened. Tyler, now 16 and carrying the name Mancini with visible pride, was teaching a 15-year-old named Marcus how to gap spark plugs when the garage door opened. A girl stood in the doorway, maybe 13. She wore an oversized jacket. A fading yellow-green bruise colored her left eye. Her posture was hunched, defensive. She scanned the space, her eyes settling on Tyler. "The boy who asked for work," she said, her voice quiet but clear. "That was you, right?" Tyler set down his tools and approached slowly. "Yeah, that was me. 2 years ago. Are you looking for work, too?" Her shoulders dropped slightly. "I'm good with my hands. I learn fast. I just need somewhere to go after school that isn't where I'm supposed to be." Stone emerged from the office, his assessment immediate. He caught Tyler's eye and nodded. "What's your name?" Tyler asked. "Iris. Iris Chun." "I'm Tyler. That's Stone. Over there is Diesel. We have work here, if you want it. Cleaning, organizing. You can learn mechanical skills if you're interested. Pays fair. Rules are simple. Show up on time, work hard, don't steal, don't lie. Can you do that?" "Yes." Her voice carried the same fragile hope Tyler remembered feeling. "I can do all of that." "Good. Come on. I'll show you how we organize the tools. It's boring, but it's important. It's how you learn where everything lives." That evening, Tyler and Bull sat on the back porch as the sun set. Ranger, his muzzle now gray, sprawled at their feet. "You did good today with that girl," Bull said. "You saw yourself in her." Tyler nodded slowly. "When I walked in here, I was drowning. You all threw me a rope and pulled until I was on solid ground. Now I can throw the rope for someone else. That feels important. Like my survival wasn't just about me. That's legacy, kid," Bull said, his voice warm with pride. "That's how we break cycles. Not through systems, but through people choosing to show up. You could have taken your healing and walked away. Instead, you stayed and used your pain to help. That's the definition of courage." They sat in comfortable silence, the kind born from weathering storms together. "Do you think my mother will be proud of who I am?" Tyler asked after a while. Bull turned to face him. "Rebecca Morgan fought to keep you safe until someone took that choice from her. Based on everything we learned about her, I believe she would be incredibly proud that you survived, that you found family, that you're using your story to make sure other kids don't drown. You honor her memory every day." 2 years. Tyler's life had transformed. He was a solid student with a path toward engineering. He had a real friendship with Maya. He had a father, a brotherhood, a dog, and a key to a home that was truly his. On the anniversary of the day he first asked for work, Stone called everyone together. 2 years ago, a kid with a bruised face walked through our door, he said, his voice carrying the quiet garage. What happened next changed all of us. Tyler proved that intervention matters, that showing up changes everything. He walked in asking for work, and what he found was family. Now he's helping us extend that family to others. That's the legacy we're building, one rescued kid at a time. The veterans raised their drinks. Tyler stood beside Bull, feeling the overwhelming gratitude of being seen, valued, and loved. Later, in his room, he looked at the leather jacket hanging in his closet, the Iron Brotherhood insignia on the back, his name on the front. He thought of the journey from that first desperate walk to this moment of stability and purpose. He thought of Rebecca. He thought of Bull. He thought of Iris and the kids who would come after. This wasn't the end of his story. It was the true beginning. The years of survival had been the prologue. Now he was writing the real chapters about healing, growth, and making sure others had the chance he'd been given. Some heroes wear uniforms and carry weapons. Others wear leather and carry wrenches and choose to fight battles that never make headlines. Both kinds matter. Both change lives. And sometimes the most important question isn't for rescue or salvation, but simply for the chance of work and to prove your worth. Tyler had asked that question. The Iron Brotherhood had answered with more than a job. They had answered with family, healing, and a revolutionary idea that every kid deserves adults who will fight for them when systems fail. That was the legacy being built, one shift at a time, one rescued child at a time, one family forged by choice at a time. It all started with a bruised boy asking bikers if he could work there and veterans brave enough to say yes. So what would you do if a kid walked into your life asking for a chance? Would you see the bruises and ask the hard questions? Would you show up day after day until that kid finally believed safety could be permanent? Tyler's story proves that one yes can change everything. That courage sometimes looks like a frightened kid asking for work. And that family, the kind that actually matters, is built by people who choose to show up and stay, even when it's difficult, even when it means fighting systems designed to look away. If this story moved you, share it. Remember, there are kids in your community right now asking the same question Tyler asked 2 years ago. What will your answer be when they find the courage to ask? If stories like this touch your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Bonds Unspoken. Every click helps us share more incredible moments that celebrate the bond between humans and animals. And be sure to turn on the notification bell so you never miss a story that reminds us what true loyalty feels like.